So this new redraw chapter is going to be the continuation of the redraw chapter that we got last week. You know, the new version of Saitama versus Orochi. And we're going to see the aftermath of that in this chapter. But first, we're picking up from the new chapter 103 redraws that we got last year. In that chapter, we saw Amai Mask no longer kill the private military company, but he did still go on to fight Super S, who in the new version stabbed him in the eye with her tongue and revealed that he has some kind of like crazy regeneration ability that he didn't want the other heroes to see. But after that, he kind of just finished off Super S, or at least we thought he did until now, because in these redraws, her fate has been retconned and it turns out that she's now alive. And as soon as she comes back to life, she drops one of the biggest bombshells in the manga, at least in my opinion, because she tastes Amai Mask's blood. Because remember, like I said, she stabbed him in the eye with her tongue, so naturally there's gonna be some left over. And she says, this is monster blood. So I guess that's it, right? Amai Mask's secret has finally been revealed. He is in fact a monster. But not just that, because a few pages later she says, could it be he's a shape-shifting type? And that totally makes sense because we have seen shape-shifting monsters throughout the series, aka monsters who can appear to be human at first. And it appears that this is what Amai Mask is. And I guess he has to be, right? Because, you know, the regeneration stuff, there's not really like a good explanation for that other than him being a monster, unless he's like some kind of analog to Zombie Man, which you know, doesn't seem likely at this point. But also, I mean, if you want to play semantics with that, Zombie Man is technically a monster himself anyway. Now, we don't fully understand everything about Amai Mask yet. Obviously, we haven't gotten his backstory, nor has he even confirmed it himself that he is a monster. But Super S saying it here is less of her dialogue and more of like a narration. And now that we know this, you can actually go back throughout the story and read Amai Mask's like dialogue and his interaction with characters or whatever specific sequences he has. And you can see that, you know, it's pretty clear there's something that he's hiding and something that makes him extremely insecure. One of the most telling sequences, at least in my opinion, is back in chapter 93 at the strike team meeting when Amai Mask is talking to Zombie Man. He says, Zombie Man, why can't you be killed? That's quite disturbing. You're actually a monster, aren't you? And going further, he's like, you were given your S-class seat based on your fighting ability. Who you really are is highly suspicious. Can we really consider you an ally? And I always thought that exchange was super fascinating because it appears that Amai Mask was like projecting onto Zombie Man. And at that time, we didn't know Amai Mask was a monster yet. And I always just thought that, you know, if it actually does turn out that he is one, that would just further cement one's like incredible writing skill. But let me just bring out one more thing before we go further. So the last time that we saw Amai Mask, like current time in the manga, he was literally ripped in half by Pure Ugly. And a lot of us were wondering, like, is that the end of Amai Mask? Is like he's straight up dead? And at the time I thought, you know, probably not, because he appears to have this regeneration ability, right? And now that it's revealed he's a full-blown monster, I fully expect him to come back from even being like ripped in half the way that he was. So expect Amai Mask to come back and then the story to further play the will they, won't they, you know, find out if he's a monster or not. But anyway, now that Super S is back, she has new motivation in trying to take down Amai Mask because revenge. So then we see her go to like one of her dungeons to get backup, but it turns out that she only has like weaklings left. She even reminisces about previously having the Subterraneans as like some of her slaves. If you're confused as to what was going on with that, it was revealed that the Monster Association itself was built by and originally belonged to the Subterraneans, or at least mostly. There's like some ant monsters and Elder Centipede is involved into it to some extent. The Monster Association came down there and killed nearly all of them. And the rest of the surviving members, you know, went to the surface, and that's where we saw Saitama take care of them. But now we're coming to the new aftermath of Saitama taking out Orochi. Originally, Giro had observed Saitama and figured out that he was probably the one that killed Orochi. But that's all changed now, because now instead of seeing Saitama, Psychos is seeing King. And King like spots her drone and he starts running away, but accidentally falls to the level below. But to Giro's point of view, it appears that King did like a cliche manga speed teleportation thing. And then coincidentally, at the same time, Saitama is there and squashes the drone thinking it was a fly. And this leads Psychos to thinking that it was King all along. And this is just classic one, and I'm loving that they changed it to them thinking it was King instead. In my opinion, it just makes it that much better. So basically what Girogiro saw was like King going down the hallway, then suddenly he disappears and then is behind the drone and then crushes it. And Girogiro's like, King, what a monster. To think that he could beat even Orochi. And then Tatsumaki's like, as expected of King, doing his job just right. And this is nothing new. Back in chapter 93, like what we were talking about earlier with Amai Mask and Zamien, we also saw Tatsumaki kind of having like a unusual reaction to King's entrance, I'll say. But then after this, the sequence between Tatsumaki and Girogiro pretty much stays the same. But I also want to point out again that when Psychos uses the eye lasers on Tatsumaki, she says, an elegant and nuanced usage of your psychic ability. Who taught you how to do it? I think that's something that should be noted because it probably will come back later, like after this arc maybe. And then we're coming to Fubuki with Bang and Bomb, and this is pretty much all staying the same except them further hyping up King, which I love. And then we're going back into the sequence where King literally kills this monster via fear. This was one of my favorite chapters to review at the time. I think I called the review like King performs one of the greatest feats in the series, or the greatest feat. But then we're coming to the new ending, and it turns out that Super S is re-encountering Fubuki here. As I'm sure most of you remember, Fubuki fought Super S in season 2, but their fight was interrupted by Tatsumaki showing up, so there wasn't a definitive outcome to it. So I guess Super S showing up here again is maybe strictly for the purpose of giving Fubuki a W, because she hasn't really been doing too much like one-on-one stuff, I guess. Most of it has just been support. Like she's been assisting Bang and Bomb, you know, against Rover and with the cadres, and we saw her like defuse Genos, and we saw her also help Tank Top Master. So I guess this is just to balance her out a little, not make her just completely support, you know? And there's also always the chance that Super S could spill some more valuable exposition maybe, and she did say that she was going to try to blackmail Amai Mask or something, so maybe that comes into play after this. Not really sure, but that's pretty much it for the chapter. And yes, there are going to be more redraws after this. Not really sure how many, like maybe 1 or 2 more. At this point, we are really coming to the end of them. Like when volume 24 is finished, I'm pretty sure the redraws and all that stuff will be done for the most part. All of the major ones. There might be like small retcons for like a panel or 1 page or something, but it's nothing that's going to have to take up an entire update like these have. But let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. If you liked the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.